I got so burnt out. My back gave way, my knees gave way, everything in my body gave way. Couldn't walk. That led me to being bedridden at Christmas.
What would you say are practical things that prevent burnout?
To prevent burnout, you need to set specific boundaries for yourself. A lot of people think, I don't have time to do anything when we restructure their calendar and we tweak the slightest little things. What happens? They sleep better, they wake up with energy, they're all a lot happier.
Wait, hold up, slow up. Let's not go too fast over that. What's step one? Step two? What's step three? Holly Smith
is the author and founder of 30 Days to Happiness. She helps people create amazing habits and teaches them to hold themselves accountable with the happiness formula.
When you first wake up in the morning, you're half asleep, half awake. Now, that state is actually prime time to start training your subconscious mind.
Break that down for me.
I will spend 5 minutes laying in bed, visualizing every hour of the day. The next thing is getting out into the sun. The last thing I would suggest is 3 MIT rule. 3 most important tasks. It shouldn't take you any longer than 90-minute sessions, and put them in your most productive hours. I can guarantee you'll have a super productive day.
Bring it on. Give me more.
Now, this is my favorite exercise, and I've been testing this for the last probably 6 months now, and it works so well. The thing that I would do is...
Welcome to What the Tech, your gateway to business strategies and tech secrets shaping today's workplace.
Welcome to the podcast, Holly Smith. Holly,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm doing amazing, thank you.
Awesome. I know you are checking in from the land down under. I know I probably do a terrible Aussie accent, and you probably have a better American accent than my Aussie accent.
Oh, I love being Australian, but I have to say, after I watch a lot of like American TV or even UK or listen to a lot of different other accents besides Australian, I listen to Australian accents and I think we are just so bogan. Like we just have no accent at all. It just sounds so weird.
There's a lot more Australians that are in the US market. And it may have been 10, 15 years ago to be like, what kind of, where are they from?
Yeah,
But I think it's becoming more common. Just you turn on the news or you on social media, there's a lot more of your kinmen that are available to us in the US market to consume.
yeah, I agree. And it's funny, most of my clients are American because I haven't
Oh,
over the last like 5 years, most of them have been American, which is quite interesting.
we all need help of some sort. And that's why I want to talk to you because you seem to have an in on happiness in a way that I haven't heard it being put before. And as I was getting ready for our discussion today, we uncovered some things that amplify what you're talking about. There's actual research. But before we dive into all of the research and all some of these wonderful things, tell me, why are you passionate about building community around happiness?
Yeah, well, it's not just because, there's been so many studies around community and relationships are like the key component to your happiness or the key part
Mhm.
of being happy. But for me, I grew up like without the emotional support that I needed, which led me through a season of depression, which made me put on weight. And this is not blaming everyone else because that's not what happiness is. I truly believe real happiness is taking responsibility. The community actually just makes it easier.
Because I would imagine if you're in a bout of depression and you're not feeling good about yourself, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. What would you say is the enemy of happiness?
I think it's comparison. They say comparison is a thief of joy. And a lot of people misunderstand because happiness and joy are not the same. Happiness is a quick fix, quick happiness. I'm going to buy a dog, I'm going to spend money on this car, I'm going to eat some yummy food, get a dopamine hit. Joy is like the long term version of happiness. And
Mhm.
it's a daily feeling that you can choose to feel, but you do have to seek it. Happiness is something that we can get anywhere. And yes, it's a choice, but how much easier is it to build specific habits around being more joyful and making that a conscious effort, like being more positive, restructuring and training your brain to start thinking in a more positive way, start seeing the world as the glass half full instead of glass half empty kind of thing. So I think people really need to search. for joy and not search for happiness, because happiness is a state of being. Joy is the actual feeling you get from being happy. So the more you feel joy, the more it will become a habit for you. The more you'll see it as your new reality, and it will be a lot easier to tap into.
So joy and happiness aren't the same thing. Should we be rethinking when you're talking about retraining your brain? Should we be rethinking in the language that we use instead of saying, I want to be happy, I should
Hmm.
be joyous or I want to be joyful?
Yeah. Or even going deeper than that and saying, what can I do today to make today joyful? Because you can choose in a situation that may be quite hard for you to deal with. Let's say you're at the gym and or you're trying to hit a certain weight goal when you're deadlifting, or you're going to run a marathon, or maybe
Mhm.
you're doing your first speech on stage. You can choose to have all these negative emotions pop up, which they will if you've got fear or any kind of limiting beliefs around that. It's supernatural, but you have a choice if you want to believe that or not. Or you have a choice to take a step back and remove yourself from that frame of mind and say, I'm going to choose joy instead. And choosing joy means looking at all positives that could possibly happen and being grateful for those things already. And that's just one way of many to experience more joy in those situations. But I just believe it's a choice when you wake up every morning. And the big thing that I talk about is self-accountability. Then there is no one here coming to save you. So what are the things that you need to do to not just wake up happy every day, which is like why I wrote 30 Days to Happiness, but how can you experience joy throughout the whole entire day? And there's many ways you can do that.
Well, tell me about that because a lot of people, especially here in America, we've been voted the 23rd happiest country in the world, way
Wow.
behind some of the Nordic countries. Or do we have that study somewhere? I know you got it somewhere. Oh, look at this with me, Holly. At the very top and consistently, and as far as I could remember, consistently at the top are always the Nordic countries,
Yeah,
Finland and
Finland, Denmark, even Norway, I know is
Denmark. These are the cold
sweet.
countries. This is not Ibiza, southern coast, the Amalfi Coast in Italy, the Mediterranean. These are all places where when you look at travel or some exotic island in Fiji, you would think that those are the people that are happiest. We're talking cold places. But in the
Yeah.
US, where you work with a lot of clients, we've slipped down to 23rd.
Wow.
Is there something that you think some of these countries that are consistently towards the top have gotten right or better or are doing where, let's say in America, we just are missing the boat? Why is this the case that these cold Nordic countries are consistently towards the top? Or what do you think is contributing to that?
That is a really great question, and I think a lot of things contribute to it, but if I think about Sweden, like, my whole entire husband's family are from Sweden pretty much,
Mm,
and, like, we just had, like, Brillies come over and we were talking to them, and it's always cold and miserable and raining and this and that. Even though it's beautiful, it's just not Australia at all. Like, we're used to sunny days, a bit of rain, thunderstorms here and
mhm,
there. So it does make me wonder and question, if you lived in the UK, for example, can you
mhm,
imagine living in the UK? And I'm sure people here have gone through that, and I
yeah.
really do feel for those who have. During COVID, where the weather is not great, it's cold, it's dark super, like, pretty much the whole day, because 'cause you've got a
Mhm,
little bit of
mhm,
light. How depressing is that? So if you think about those top 3, it's quite interesting, and I have to say I don't actually know because studies are changing all the time. Like, you'll
mhm,
read the book Ikigai, and they'll say an island off Japan, they've been voted the happiest people in the world, and the way that they live is community-based. So they live community-based, they all help each other, they wake up, they do prayer, personal development, meditation, give thanks, and they go for walks in the sun, right? And that's a happiness
mhm,
habit.
mhm.
Going for a walk in the sun increases not just your dopamine from exercising.
Here we
Yeah.
go. And
Yeah.
Ori's got that book. The
Yeah.
Japanese secret to a long and happy life. Workers looking for more fulfilling positions should start by identifying their ikigai.
Yeah. So an ikigai is pretty much like your purpose, and they pretty much take you through
Mm,
the core, what you're passionate about, finding your purpose. What would you do if you didn't get paid for it? Just, yeah, there's a whole entire section when it comes to career, personal development, health, and finding purpose. But I just mentioned that book because they so clearly stated why they were so happy on that island. And it was they ate whole foods that were caught and was fresh, right? So they had a great healthy diet.
So you seem to be echoing what Dr. Daniel Amen says. He's a psychiatrist and studies behaviors and disorders in the brain. And he said that nutrition does contribute to that state
Mm.
of mind. So if you have poor nutrition, it's going to be even harder to get there.
Yeah, if you're really unhappy and depressed and you're eating processed foods, that's probably why. Hormone
Mm.
imbalance could also be why. Not eating enough food could also be why.
That's me right there. You've identified me when my blood sugar starts dropping and I just want to throw this chair. Oh, wait, yeah, I haven't eaten in a few hours. I need to go eat.
Oh, literally me. I get hungry. I'm like the worst hungry person. So I have to make it a conscious effort. Like if I woke up today and was like, hey, I need to be happy, what am I going to do? Number one, I'm
Uh-huh.
going to make sure I eat really consistently whole foods throughout the day. I would
Hmm.
chuck out any processed foods. Yes, it's hard if you've been used to eating processed foods. High protein, whatever diet you choose. I think there's so many different diets you can choose out there, but just whole foods approach. Anything that has come from, if you're not vegetarian, come from an animal or the sea, vegetables from the ground. If you eat organic, even better if you can afford it. Fruit, nuts. I don't know. Just stick with the whole food approach. Even grains, like rice is also really great. That's probably, yeah, the first thing I would do if I was like, how do I wake up happy every day? The next thing that I would do is actually start uncovering like why I'm so unhappy. Most of the time when I don't feel happy is because I'm not striving for anything. And most of the time I'm always striving for something because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always like, boom, 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 let's do this, do this, do this, do this. And then when this high comes down, I start questioning, am I on the right track? Am I supposed to be doing this? Do I even want to keep running this business? Like these are all the questions that pop up in entrepreneurs' minds. And you do have to nip that in the bud by having a deep enough purpose and a deep enough vision that you're looking at every single day. That's why I love daily visualization before you even get out of bed in the morning. And then the next thing is like literally just getting out into the sun as soon as you can. I know in some places it doesn't rise until quite late. If you can get out and get in the sun and walk, you're getting dopamine, maybe hug someone for oxytocin and serotonin as well. Like these are all your happy endorphins, right?
Hmm.
And that is just a really beautiful foundation. Think about things you're grateful for. There's so much you can do, but honestly, they're probably my four favorites.
You know, I heard a gentleman who was a former intelligence officer in the Navy. I believe his name is Chase Hughes. And
Okay, yeah.
he's really, you've heard of Chase Hughes?
Yeah, I've heard of Jace Hughes. I don't know
Okay,
why.
good. So you're just gonna, this is right up your alley. He was talking about, because you were talking about visualization, and he said
Mm,
something that I had not heard before, but I think it may resonate with you with when he says, when we talk about the brain and our thoughts and ideas, the oldest part of our brain, our mammalian, our animal part of our
mm,
brain, the only way to get deep enough into that is through visual
mm,
mediums. Logic doesn't tend to enter it, emotions less, but the
mm,
visual, so like a vision board and other things like what you just said,
yeah,
visualization, that connects with the mammalian brain. And that
yeah.
finally, like, I get it now. I understand there's different parts of our brain that respond to different stimuli. And if we want to
Mm,
get deep enough into the mammalian brain, we need to have those visual cues to help us
mm,
get
mm.
into it.
Well,
What are your
that's
thoughts?
it. Yeah, and when you visualize as well, like you spend a moment to actually visualize not just what's going to happen for the day, that's also very, very like amazing. That will help you a lot if you visualize what happens every hour of the day in depth and how you want to feel. Every time I don't do that, every time my clients don't do that, their day is not as productive, not as successful. They don't manifest amazing opportunities, which is quite interesting. And we've tested that for the last 5 years. Now,
Wait, hold up, slow up, because you just said something. Let's not go too fast over that. You said that when you don't visualize, you're not able to manifest, and that you've seen this with your clients.
mm, yeah, yeah.
How does that
Example.
work? Tell me, break that down. Give me the steps, because I want to manifest things. I want good things to happen to me and the people around me. Break that down for me.
Yeah. Okay. So when you first wake up in the morning, you're in a state of being where you're kind of half asleep, half awake. Now, that state of being is actually prime time to start training your subconscious mind to believe whatever you want to be true. So before I even wake up in the morning, I will spend 5 minutes laying in bed, closing my eyes, and visualizing what I want every hour of the day. Close my eyes, take some deep breaths, meditative state without falling back asleep. I will start visualizing what I'm going to do when I wake up. I'm going to grab my lemon and hot water and do 30 minutes of, personal development. And then I'll do this and I'll spend time with my daughter. And then, I'll have a very productive first, most important task hour. And then I'll go to the gym and I'll feel so productive and so happy and powerful and strong. And then I'll finish the gym on a high. And it's not just visualizing what you want to happen. It's actually about the feeling that you get from that. It's like,
Mm.
how can you heighten those feelings? Now, the best way for you to actually feel those feelings now, the feeling of joy, feeling of productivity, the feeling of accomplishment, right, is to feel those things now. So if you can actually feel those things before you even start your day, you're pretty much manifesting your day before it's even happened. Now, this is my favorite exercise, and I've been testing this for the last probably 6 months now, and it works so well. Before you even go to bed, the night before, I want you to write down 3 wins for the next day as if they've already happened. They might be, I lift this amount of weight at the gym, or I run this kilometer at this speed at the gym. I'm just making this up.
Mhm.
The next one might be, I complete 3 really deep productive work hours with breaks in between. The next win might be, I get a new client, right? So there might be some random wins for the day. But if you had the best day of your life, what are those 3 wins? Write them down before you go to sleep. Now, every time I do this, 90% of the time I achieve every single win the next day without even thinking about it. It just comes in naturally. And that's not just me taking the initiative and putting the effort out there to actually achieve them, but it's actually like just my subconscious mind has already kind of processed it all throughout the night and now understands that when I wake up in the morning, I'm expecting these things. That's a whole nother part of manifesting is expecting something good to happen.
Can you have unrealistic things that you want to manifest? Let's say I want $1 million dropped in front of my house tomorrow. That's legit. It's not any illegal money. That's my goal tomorrow. Tell me what's wrong
Interesting.
with that goal.
Things like that happen all the time, especially when you talk to all the people who go to the Joseph Dispenza retreats. Things like that happen all the time, and you can definitely manifest money overnight.
Mm.
But if we remove the number figure, like $1 million, and we say, okay, someone drops $1,000 on your doorstep and you can't afford groceries this week and you're
Mhm.
manifesting for this, then that is to me looks like a completely different scenario than someone saying, hey, I've already got a lot of money and I don't care. I just want $1 million for no reason. So I think there needs to be like a little bit more of a, this is just me, my personal preference. This is, I don't know if this is backed by science at all, but I believe that there needs to be some kind of need and want behind it. But you will stop manifestation when you start needing things. That's what I have
Mm.
found. Now, this has been scientifically proven. As soon as you start needing something and not just wanting it, you should block all resources to actually get to your manifestation goal. Example, every time that I'm like, okay, I need more money, blah, 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 and I get into a state of lack, I block all opportunities. Soon as I
Mm.
let go and I give it to God, I'm like, hey, just deal with it. I'm going to just keep pursuing what I'm going to do. It's like all this money just flows into my bank. So when you're operating a state of lack, you're not going to manifest, unfortunately. So the ultimate goal is to keep yourself on a higher vibration. You can do that through meditation, staying grateful, serving others as well. And then there's the other side of it. And if those spiritual people who are listening to this, the other side of it is really like, is this your will? I know we create our own lives, but is that $1 million coming to your front door the next day? Is that teaching you anything? Is that leading you to the next stage in your life where you're actually supposed to be? You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah. So the journey, you touch on part of understanding your journey, your passion, where you need to be in life, how to get through that. And one of the things that, I guess all of us struggle at some point with is shifting into feeling like joy and having that and being positive and optimistic. And as I was getting ready for this, I wanted to see, is there any research that even remotely connects positive or optimistic thinking in any way to better outcomes? And I did find one, believe it or
Mm,
not. In London, Some researchers at the Center for Neuroimaging Science and Computational Cognitive and Clinical Neuroimaging Laboratory, a division of brain sciences. Wow, that's a mouthful, right? This
It's
is
a
what
lot.
they found. And I want to read it because I don't want anybody to misquote what I've said here. This study, basically, what they found is that a dose dependent association between higher optimism level increased and increased longevity, both men and women. This means that people with higher levels of optimism live longer than those with lower levels. That just, we're not even done. That just, what?
Mhm.
What? Women, now they went into specifics for men and women. Women
Interesting.
in the highest optimism quartile had a 14.9 longer lifespan than those in the lowest quartile, even after adjusting for demographics and health conditions. So women lived longer. Now we get to the men. Men in the highest optimism group were 1.7 times more likely to live to 85 than those in the lowest group. That's crazy. And then this is how they finish it off. The relationship between optimism and longevity remains significant even after accounting for health behaviors. Because previous research suggests optimism is modifiable, these findings indicate optimism may be a valuable target for interventions aimed at increasing lifespan.
Yeah, that's
Whew,
so interesting. Wow.
that's wild. So there is some science to the outcomes associated with, if we call it, let's call it happy thinking, all right? For just for layman's term, happy thinking, mindset around happiness and joy, and that you can actually increase your lifespan even when you adjust out all of the other demographics and all the other factors that you think are associated with longevity. That's mind blowing, literally.
It's so mind blowing. And when I think about this, I think about the realist and the optimistic person in relationships. And I feel like there's always one. When you got two optimists, it's like a crazy, awesome adventure. But I'm the optimist in the relationship, hence I'm an entrepreneur. And my husband is the realist. It's actually quite a nice combination because he brings me back to reality. And I'm like, oh, we can go on this holiday. It's fine. And we're like about to give birth to a baby or travel America now. Or I'm going to do all these massive big things and I have all these big visions and goals. And I know I can do it because like knowing I am limitless, right, with what I can
Yeah.
do. But then he brings me back and goes, okay, you got to think about this and you got to think about this. And it actually can create kind of some disturbance in relationships. And I'm sure whoever's listening to this, if you have this kind of relationship, it can be a little bit disheartening when you're on such a high from being your typical optimistic self to then coming
Mhm.
back down to reality and going, oh, maybe it isn't possible. And you start questioning yourself. And then you think, oh, maybe if you're an entrepreneur, maybe I'll just go get a normal job. Or maybe you're in the office and you go, do I even need to be, and you start questioning, should I be working here? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing more? Am I not doing enough? Like when you start questioning yourself like that, that's when I believe you are unhappy because you come back into a state of being realistic. And I think there needs to be a really beautiful like space between being realistic and being optimistic. I don't know. I believe everyone's born that way. Obviously, like what's happened in your childhood, that you're either a realist or optimistic. And it's exactly the same with my brother and sister-in-law. He's the same. He's like super optimistic and she's like a realist. And it's just really interesting, like looking at relationships. And I think we both help each other. But if we go back to like people living longer, this is my opinion, is that I think we live longer if you're optimistic, is because you're always striving for more and you have hope. Hope is what
Mhm.
keeps you going, right? It's the
Mhm.
reason you wake up every morning, is you're
Right.
hoping for something more.
Why? And so it keeps you looking forward to
Mhm.
something new and something, a reason, a purpose, right? So if you're feeling like, yeah, there's a reason I should get up in the morning and have this mindset, should do these things. You know, a lot of people in America, and I'm sure you hear this from your clients, a lot of people here are struggling with burnout. We talked about how we're at the lowest point in terms of happiness that's been surveyed for almost 50 years in America. And people are feeling burnt out. And
Yeah.
what would you say are some things people could do, the practical things that they could do in their lives to either reduce or prevent burnout, given the state that we are here in America, which is not the same as some of you Aussies get to get all these nice benefits and holidays and time off. We don't have
Yeah.
anything burnt into the law that says that you're entitled to any of this stuff here.
Mm.
What do you say
Yeah.
to people here in America that are feeling burnt out?
Yeah. I think as well from everyone that I know, my friends in America, it's like hustle culture is that's common. That's
Mhm.
part of, I guess, your culture in a way is work
Mm.
ethic, right? You all have amazing work ethics, most of you.
Yep.
And I think because that's just part of the culture as well. Comparing to Australia, right? We go through school, some people leave school halfway through to go do a trade, and then some people go to university, some people don't, some people pursue businesses. Like it's different. But when I talk to my friend who's from America, she's like,
Mhm.
no, you go through every single stage of schooling and then you go to college and then you go through all those years and then you leave your home and then you get married and then you pursue a job. And then you buy a house, have kids with a white picket fence, and that's the American dream. And it's not for everyone, obviously, but that's when I think of America and the people that I talk to, that's what seems to be like the culture and what is predicted for most people's lives. So
Right.
if I think back to burnout, I think burnout is more so like the all or nothing approach. That's what I believe. I literally watch so many people who are making millions of dollars every single year get burnt out every single year, and they're in hospital. They've got health issues.
Mm.
And every time they're in hospital and they've got health issues is because they've got some emotional circumstance or something that's quite traumatic happening in their life. And burnout is a form of trauma. Your bones and your body hold stress. So if you think I've got sore shoulders and sore back all the time, and this is besides the fact that you're working out, you're looking after yourself and everything, eating well, it's most probably a form of trauma in your body, right? And it's not until you understand where it is and why it's happening then you're going to keep getting the same kind of experience again and again and again. Give you an example. I got so burnt out for 4 weeks that I couldn't walk.
Oh my.
And I just kept pushing through. I was like, I've just got to push through, just got to push through because I thought there was no other out, thought there was no other way.
Hmm.
And that led me to being bedridden at Christmas for 4 weeks. I couldn't walk. My back gave way, my knees gave way, everything in my body gave way. And I thought, okay, well, I can't keep doing this forever. What can I do? Right. Started building really small habits, right? That can still help me work these long hours because back then I was in the real estate industry, but do it properly, right? You can still work these hours, but you can do it properly. You can do it productively, and you can also set boundaries. So, to prevent any kind of burnout, that's what you need to do. You need to set specific boundaries for yourself. Saying if you work for yourself, you can say 5 p.m., it's family time. You have a choice to do that. Some people believe it's not a choice. If you're a business owner, you have a complete choice. That's why you built a business in the first place, I'm sure, for freedom. And again, it's just a limiting belief. You can choose what you want to do. And a lot of people that come to me think, oh, I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to do anything. Like when we restructure their calendar and their days, we tweak the slightest little things, like the smallest little things. And I thought, oh, I never thought about putting that time block there, or I never thought about putting that boundary there. And what happens? They sleep better, they wake up with energy, they feel so good, they never get burnt out again, and they have the most productive day. And because of that, they're a lot happier, their family's a lot happier, and they double their revenue within 90 days. That's like the most common thing that happens. And that's because you've put the foundation in your calendar in place. So for anyone who does get burnt out every year and it's a common theme for you, you need to build those habits to start with. Here are a few for you. Wake up at the same time every day, go to bed at the same time every day. Your body is a clock. When you go to sleep at the same time every day and you set your nighttime up routine for success, like 30 minutes before you go to sleep, you read for a specific time, stay away from technology, maybe you journal, get into the habit of doing the same thing again because it will become a sleep trigger for you. And then reading, for example, if you read like me, 30 minutes before you go to bed, it will teach your body and your brain to say, hey, it's time to go to sleep half an hour from now. And you'll go to sleep really fast and you'll have a great sleep. If you do a brain dump before you go to bed as well, just dump down all your thoughts on paper because your subconscious mind is the part of the brain that will keep going and thinking all the way through the night. And then you'll wake up stressed and exhausted with the exact same issue in place if you don't solve the issues on paper before you go to sleep. So my suggestion is if you're an overthinker, try and do a brain dump, just dump down all your thoughts, your feelings, everything on a piece of paper. I can guarantee you'll have a better sleep. Your morning routine and your workday routine, the last two things are most important. Morning routine, I truly believe it helps to set the day up for yourself. So do something for you first thing as soon as you get out of bed. It could be taking a shower, it could be going for a walk with your dogs, it could be having a coffee and reading the newspaper before you get into your workday. It just separates work-life balance, right? And then throughout your workday, the last thing I would suggest is the 3 MIT rule. Three most important tasks. If you have any more than three most important tasks, it becomes a to-do list. The ultimate goal is for you to get rid of that to-do list.
Mhm.
3 MIT shouldn't take you any longer than 3 to 4 hours or 90-minute sessions, and put them in your most productive hours. Maybe do a time audit or a productivity audit and see what part of the hours of the day you are most productive and place those MITs in there. I can guarantee you'll have a super productive day. This system's already helped so many people around the world. But yeah, try those methods.
I like what you just said about the small steps because micro steps, I can't remember the author that talked about 1% each week, tiny habits. But the idea is the same. The concept's the same that what you want to do is take these small steps and eventually things become a habit because they're not about like discipline. I can't remember who I was listening to recently that was talking about how people that exercise every day, let's just use those for an example. People that exercise every day and somebody from that doesn't do that looks at them and saying, "Boy, you have a lot of discipline." And basically what this person was saying at the beginning, at the very beginning, at the start, there is a lot of effort going into that, but it just becomes so natural. Like you don't view it as discipline. It's not like
Mhm.
I'm disciplined, like,
Yeah,
but
that's
it's just
interesting.
become part of who I am. And there's not a lot of effort once you get going. And so the idea of small micro steps, baby steps, one thing you could do in the morning. I like that. You break it down. What's the one thing I can do? What can I control that can set me up for success? And then you find that, oh, yeah, I accomplished that. I did that. Now I'll go to the second thing. And like you said, the third thing. But if I have like 50 things on my to do list, I know I'm not going to get to 50, right?
Mm,
I'm going to get to two, maybe three on a good day.
mm,
And and
yeah.
now I'm setting myself up for success. And I really like that because I'm hearing more about how instead of, yeah, get this laundry list, get your plan out, attack it one step at a time.
Mm,
And I've been trying some of that, and I find myself like, I wanted to make my bed every day. And it was a very hard thing to do. And then I did it one day, and I'm like, you know what? I changed my frame of reference on it.
yeah,
Instead of making the bed, I want to get in at night when it's comfortable and
yeah.
nice. And I walk in my room now, I see it's made. I'm like,
Mm.
ah, I'm ready.
It's
I'm ready for sleepy time.
I love that. And that's a really great example, right, of any kind of habit that you want to form or break. Ed Milet states it quite well. The Power of One More is his book. And he talks about how just one more day, one more day. If you want to give up alcohol, just one more day, right? Just one more rep in the gym, just one more. And you're just taking yourself that extra bit further every time. And that becomes your new reality. That becomes your new normal. And that's when you what you were saying about the discipline, right? It becomes your new normal to work a certain way throughout your day. And if it's good or bad, it's up to you how you want to keep going, right? And it's the same with everything, the food you eat, the exercise you do, the friends you have, the relationship circles.
You know, there are folks that are going to be listening to this, and you touched on it a little bit. And I want to come back to it, that they're going to say, Holly, you just don't know my situation. I had very bad experiences when I was a child, whether you're abused or you're in a situation that really affected you later in life and you're kind of scarred from that. How can folks that have experienced childhood trauma move beyond that so that they can overcome those effects that they experienced during childhood?
Yeah. This is not the easiest thing to go through. And I'm sorry if you've had to go through this. And the quick fix is to shove it underneath a rug and move forward. But unfortunately, the same trauma will show up in different areas of your life if you do not overcome it. There are so many things that you can do. You can do therapy, you can do hypnosis, you can do a lot of work on yourself. And that's what I suggest you do. If you haven't done any work on yourself to overcoming these traumas, that's the first step because if you keep shoving it under a rug, again, like I said, it will show up in every different area of your life in different ways and it will keep coming up. And you think, why do I keep attracting the same person every single time I go on a date? Why is my bank account exactly the same every single year? You'll start seeing similar things happen in different areas. I'm not a trauma expert, but there's a lot out there. But what has personally helped me is journaling and actually just not ignoring how I'm feeling and my thoughts. And I'm okay to feel this way. Talking about it really helps. And I found hypnosis to work really well as well.
Mm.
And just going back and learning to forgive those people in your life that have maybe caused that trauma, that's a huge thing. But unforgiveness causes a lot of health issues and causes you to feel stagnant in a way where you feel stuck and you're stuck with like so much fear. So that's the first thing. And then after that, you need to get a purpose. You need to find a purpose. You need to understand why you're alive today. And once you know that, life becomes so much easier, so much easier. And knowing that maybe you could also help other people with the trauma you've gone through, like myself, it's just nice knowing that it's almost like a pay it forward kind of thing. Knowing that if you could potentially now help other people from the situations you've gone through, I think it's just a blessing.
And I know that I think on other podcasts you've talked about candidly how losing your horses back when you were younger and moving away from your acreage led to a dark period in your life. And because people want to understand how to do some of that, and you went through that, you experienced that, and now you've turned that into a passion to help others. How did those feelings influence how you approach the journey and your passion to help others?
So at the start, like I still get emotional. I still would get emotional triggers, things that would kind of set me off from how I used to feel and the situation that happened. But it's not until I read my book, might see in the background there, 30 Days to Happiness, that these are the 30 habits that reconstructed my subconscious mind to wake up happy every single day. And if it wasn't for those habits and without some kind of desire to help another person who was in my situation. Like, honestly, if I look at the big picture for me is to stop suicides. There are like 20 people a day, I think, just in Australia. I could be wrong. Might have gone up or down. Just like committing suicide. That's a lot of lives every year.
Mm.
And it's just ridiculous. Like, it is getting ridiculous to me. And I just, if I can do one thing every day to help that and help people actually understand that they're alive for a purpose and a reason and people do want them here on earth, then I think that to me, I've known that I have done my purpose, right? I've done my will. So I guess going back to like your question, it's the desire to want to change the world really that keeps me going.
It's very hopeful what you're saying because I know a lot of people struggle with finding a purpose, finding something that brings them joy, how to break away from maybe unhealthy relationships, whether it be personal relationships or even work relationships where I think you had said this to me when we talked the first time that if you're driving an hour to work, you said something to the effect that maybe you need to find a different place that you don't have to drive an hour to work that's stressing you out to no end. And it's that self-reflection that I think all of us could do a little bit better job in
Yeah.
just "Oh, maybe you're right. I don't love driving an hour to work each day. Why am I doing that? Why don't I find something different?"
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. And I think if you had to drive an hour to your dream job, it wouldn't feel like an hour. You'd probably feel
Mm,
happy. Favorite playlist, drink your favorite coffee, go to Starbucks on the way, put a great podcast on, and you make
mhm,
the most of it, rather than the mindset of, "I'm driving to a job that I hate and I have to do to support my family." You're gonna get stuck in traffic, you're gonna feel negative, everyone else is gonna feel your negative energy, and then you're gonna bring it home with you, and it's gonna be
mhm.
just a chain reaction. So, obviously, it's easier said than done, just go find your dream job. It's more so about you're not stuck. You think you're stuck because you think this is the only way out. This is the only way forward. But I just ask for anyone who feels like that and is listening to this to just reconsider your options. And if there was nothing holding you back, not yourself, not your mindset, not your family, not your finances, not your living situation, not your work situation, career, what do you want to do?
I love that. If people want to know more and they want to learn more about your book, more about you, what should they do?
Yeah. So you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm just Holly Smith, or Instagram, Holly_Smith00. Everything you need is on there. Otherwise, you can simply just go to 30daystohappiness.com.au and you can get my book, you can get podcasts, you can get the happiness formula, our community, everything that you need. A few bits need to be updated, I'll be totally honest on there. Yeah.
30 Days to Happiness. Go out and get it. You can download it, you can buy it on your website, or where can people also can they get it? They download it as an audiobook, or is it available like that?
Yeah, if you go to Amazon, 30 Days to Happiness, make sure that it's the right cover though. I think there's another 30 Days to Happiness, but it's all like meditations, I think. But yeah, these are all really actionable habits that you can read every day or once a week and take action on. But yeah, I'd suggest if you want the Kindle or the audiobook as well, or
Mhm.
the paperback, just go on Amazon.
Let me ask you one more question. This question is one I've asked a lot of guests. I'm going to ask you, especially that you're talking about mindset and reframing. What's the first thing you check on your phone in the morning?
The time. I know, nothing crazy, but I check the time because I need to know what time it is when I wake up and what time my daughter wakes up. I don't touch my phone or go on anything else but look at the time because I don't have my watch on all the time. Because, yeah, I've made it a conscious effort over the last few years to it's just, yeah, I just don't touch my phone in the morning. I don't go on it. I
Mm.
don't answer messages. Every time I've done that, like gone up, got my coffee, straight into work and messaging, so much anxiety out of nowhere just pops up. And I don't like feeling anxious in the morning. It doesn't set me up for a great day. So I made a conscious effort just to not touch my phone in the morning. And at first it was difficult, but for the last 4 to 5 years, it's a new normal for me. Just like reading for 30 minutes before I go to bed. That is normal for me. And when I don't do it, it feels weird. But yeah, not an exciting answer.
There's no right or wrong here with this answer. I'm fascinated to know what people's habits are and see if there are some things. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm gonna commit that one to memory and check that out a little bit later because there's always something you hear. Yeah, I meditate for 5 minutes, or
Yeah.
I stretch in the morning, or whatever, or I go for a walk, or just oh wow, I never really looked at it
Yeah.
that way. And if I'm learning something new, you're passing some information on to probably lots of people that could also use that information.
Yeah. I agree.
Holly, you have been amazing. I love all the information you brought today. I think a lot of people are going to find this very enlightening. They're going to be able to take some action, and I'm sure you'll be able to help some of the folks that are listening to this. If you want to go visit Holly, go to her website, check her out on LinkedIn. You've got a lot of free content that is very helpful. So if people want to consume more of your content, they can go LinkedIn. I know that's where I found you. And I was like, wait, I got to talk to her.
Yeah.
She's got a lot going on. So I really appreciate that. So thank you for coming on today, Holly. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun and I appreciate being here.
All right. Well, if you have enjoyed this podcast with Holly and it has provided value, I invite you to go ahead and subscribe and follow us because it lets us know we're on the right track and that we should bring more folks like Holly to you. And the algorithms will help push this podcast out to more people. So go ahead and like and subscribe as it helps us do that. And if you're a business and you are looking to park some technology dollars with a partner that's been around for a while, that's what we do in our day job at Global Tech Worldwide. So check us out. Links in description. We help businesses that have complex technology needs. I would be remiss if I did not invite you to go check out the episode with Dr. Randy Ross, where he was able to provide us and reveal how Chick-fil-A is crushing its larger rivals with this one simple thing. He wrote the book Remarkable, talked about that, but Chick-fil-A is a smaller player compared to some of those fast
Mm.
food players that you've heard about all the time. And they are using this simple trick to outmaneuver their rivals. So go ahead, check that episode with Dr. Randy Ross. I will see you in that episode. Thanks for joining me today.